Hello and welcome to another episode of Time Banter. It's been quite a while, but joining me today once again is MJ and Buddy via the magic of Skype. Buddy, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a while, I think 4 weeks or 5 weeks.
I hope you're not at the Emirates because having gone to Gabon and then to the Emirates, it'll just be from the frying pan into the fire. I have a quick question for you, Buddy. Of course, you're an Arsenal fan, and Arsenal were humiliated by Bayern Munich. PSG as well were humiliated. If you were to pick one of the two, going out like PSG did or going out the way Arsenal did, as a fan, which would you prefer?
Give me Arsenal any day. Because, I mean, from the first leg, our hope was we didn't have any hope. We had lost 5-1, and I don't think the team was struggling for form. It is still struggling for form. So probably I would rather have gone out the way we went out. Their great score was really big, 10-2. But you do feel for any PSG fan, the players, the coach Emery. I mean, it's a very sad position they find themselves in. And they're also struggling in the league. They've been knocked out in the fashion they were knocked out in yesterday. So give me Arsenal any day.
All right. And what did you make of the performance of the Arsenal team, especially in the second leg? I mean, everyone thought that maybe they would try and show some fight, play for the manager. He's under a lot of pressure. But they did so in the first half. But second half, it was just shambolic, an embarrassment, to say the least.
But true, doubt. But if you look at that game across the full 90 minutes, I think the biggest changing point in a particular game, hands down, was that red card that the referee deemed. I think the assistant referee decided that it was a straight red card, which for me I feel was slightly unfair because somehow he had made the decision to give the penalty. Then you go and he had booked him as well. That's a punishment. Then he goes as well as pulls out the red card. I'm not saying this as an Arsenal fan or as someone who. I'm saying this as someone who has watched big games that have been turned by refereeing decisions. At times you do feel like those red cards that the refs issue in big games, probably, I don't want to say they have a big say, but most times they determine the outcome of the game.
But not by 5 goals.
Everyone wants to see. No, but you would see a difference. From the time Arsenal went a man down, then they had to score now 5 goals after Lewandowski had converted that penalty. So it was a tall ask for them. There's no Arsenal going to come back from that. And most of the goals they conceded you. So I don't think if Arsenal had 11 men on that pitch, that game would have ended the way it did. Because you would see.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually.
Sorry?
I think even if they had 11 men and one of those men replacing Koscielny, they would have conceded because that's exactly what happened in Munich. As soon as Koscielny went off, the same thing happened. So someone could make the argument that the glue for the Arsenal, especially in the defense, is Koscielny. You pluck him out and then it's just shambles.
But it wasn't. I don't think it would have been as bad as it was in the first leg because whether Gabriel or whoever they had chosen to bring in, I don't think Bayern would have simply run over Arsenal the way he did because Arsenal apparently gave away close to 4 goals across both legs. Only caught in possession, mainly because of a numerical number. But you still feel Arsenal had chances in that second leg. You mentioned they had a very good first half, and probably it's a performance they can look at and build on. But for me, the mindset from the time they got the red card, I was thinking this is probably when I should have looked at damage control. Because it's a game, I don't think you want to lose 5-1, considering the current state and the form that Arsenal find themselves in. You feel like they need to more do like damage control, because there was no way they were going to win that title after the fact that they had gone a man down. So I thought probably should have gone for more damage control and still going for a tie. Because they were losing 4-1 and somehow Chamberlain was still moving forward. They had those five players in the Bayern half. So whenever Bayern was breaking, they were getting caught on the break. So for me, there are small things that probably change that tie. And for me, without a shadow of a doubt, that red card that Koscielny got was a key turning point in that game. Probably the first leg, 5-1 or so, we can say Arsenal probably need to. The dynamics of 2-leg ties are like you need your defense to somehow stand up and be counted. We have seen this over and over again. Arsenal go into the first leg, they go and throw it away, and they give themselves a lot of work to do in the second leg, which is really, really hard. So for me, that has been the downside for Arsenal. If they have failed to master the whole idea of how leg ties are played, but probably with time, and that's why at times I feel that probably the Wenger out brigade might have a point.
MJ actually on our chat group had a few positives for Arsenal. MJ, I don't know what your thoughts were on that particular match.
Thank you, Dowdy. It's good to be back. It's not often it happens, but Buddy and I are in sync on this one. I agree with him. It was a positive performance in the first half. I agree the turning point was Koscielny going off. And I agree that one may have grounds for Wenger going. But as you suggested, I think actually this game confirmed that Wenger will stay. There are a number of things that struck me in this game. The first was in my humble opinion, the excellent performance of the Arsenal midfield in the first half. It's not every day you get midfield of Alonso and Thiago being overrun, but that's exactly what happened in the first half. Time and again, Arsenal were able to find space in between the lines, and that's what happened because they were able to win the ball, pass it quickly, and get players to dangerous positions. Part of it is, I think, I suppose Bayern, whenever you win a game by a large margin in the first leg, you're not quite sure how to approach the second leg. Do you sit back and defend? Do you attack? So they got caught in two minds, and that was fatal for them in the first half. It would have been fatal. But for the second issue I'm going to raise, which is I thought the Arsenal was outstanding. The Arsenal attack, though, I thought was quite disappointing. I have no knock for any of the players in the attack, Walcott or Giroud. I'll get Sanchez later because I thought they played to the best of their ability. The problem is the best of their ability I don't think is good enough for what Arsenal need. To preview something we'll discuss later, if Arsenal had Neymar playing for them, that would have been a very different game. Because the clinical nature, if, say, Walcott's 3 chances had fallen to Neymar, 2 would have gone in. If Arsenal are leading 2-0 at halftime, that is a very different game. Because now Bayern have in their mind that actually Arsenal are halfway there. In the same way PSG had in their mind yesterday that Barcelona were halfway there at halftime. That creates a difference in positivity on Arsenal's side. They can take their time in the second half. They don't need to rush. It creates in Bayern a panic. Now, you can imagine if Neymar had gotten Giroud's chance early in the second half. Those are the things that matter. Even Matt Hummels in his analysis thought that the tie could still have swung Arsenal's way up to Giroud's chance. He thought that was the key. That was the last moment where Arsenal, he thought, could have taken the game from Bayern. Then, of course, once the red card happened, it was game over. I agree Wenger should have gone for damage control, if only to preserve the pride of his players. But that's academic. When you're out, you're out. So I thought Arsenal, based on that first half performance, Arsenal could and should have been at least 2 goals up at halftime. I think the reason they were not was because Walker and Giroud are not at the required level. But I think if I were Wenger, I'd be thinking to myself, this is why I should stay. He's the one who bought Xhaka, he brought Ramsey, he bought Chamberlain. So he can still spot a good player. The issue is that he has shown, I think, far too much loyalty to players who are willing, hard workers, but have failed to show the necessary development. I think of Walcott, for example. I'll never forget the first time I saw Walcott plays, and was in that Champions League quarterfinal. I'm sure Badi remembers, against Liverpool when he had that 80-yard run. And I thought, wow, we have a player. He was 18 at the time. 10 years later, he has not changed. He lost the first chance because he couldn't control the ball. He's 28. Now, he scored, yes, but that should have been his second goal by that point. If he'd controlled the pass he received the first time around, he would have scored. And that's the thing. I think Wenger should sit back and think to himself, if I can get serious strikers in this team, attack players, there's no reason we can't win the title or even go further in the Champions League. And that's something worth, I think Wenger is 49, he's 68 this year. I think he's certainly in the winter of his career. If I were him, I'd stick it out. Go for it. But Sanchez, I think, needs to go. His attitude is rotten. There was denial, as you'd expect, but the truth is Walcott said it. We're fighting each other. We don't need to be fighting each other. There's no other instigator who's been suggested except Sanchez. He's killing the mood of the team. If you watched him against Bayern, Arsenal played with 10 men. I didn't see Sanchez that game. Buddy, perhaps you saw him, but I didn't see Sanchez that entire game. He was a passenger in that game. Now, compare him to Neymar. Your team needs a special performance. Sanchez is the one who you'd expect a special performance on, and there's nothing. What Arsenal proved yesterday on Tuesday is they can play without him. He can go if he feels he needs to be at another club. I understand. Arsenal's had a long record of failure. He should go. But I think for Arsenal as well, it would be a relief because they'll stop chanting their play through him. And let's be honest, when Barcelona sold him and bought Neymar, they upgraded. And I think Arsenal can also upgrade if they go Sanchez.
There are very few players out there that I think are an upgrade on Sanchez.
So you say, but on the other hand, there's always the fact that Wenger knows how to spot talent. He still can spot talent even after all these years, so why can he not do the same one more time?
Sanogo and Park, I think, would beg to differ with that claim.
Oh, Ramsey. You saw Ramsey at Euro 2016. That was Wenger.
But MJ, you're talking about the core players, how Wenger believes in loyalty. And probably that's an issue I have with him, is I feel like his mindset is still stuck on, football has changed. That's why you see players switch clubs. I don't know, like they're changing clothes. It's something so easy for them. As long as those days like where someone stuck it out for a club, so thick and thin, got relegated to a club, somehow came back with it. Those days are gone. Football has now changed, and probably Wenger needs to understand that these players, they're not that loyal to the club. They're more loyal to the paychecks that they get from the club. So he has stuck with these English core players, and I've always said the English players, they do peak much later in their careers. So probably bump a Michael Owen, but you'll have someone like Scott Parker or Gareth Barry. They get better with age. So probably he knows that, and probably is thinking if he can keep Ramsey around for as long as possible. But at some point, Ramsey will somehow pay. Walcott, I think he blows out and call. He's never consistent throughout the season. Chamberlain looks interesting for me. MJ mentioned it on the forum we're on, how Chamberlain should play in the middle, and he was very impressive. He has been very impressive whenever I watch him in the middle of the park. Of course, the occasional times when he loses the ball in very, very top parts of the pitch, but that's something he will learn with experience and the number of games he plays. So if he can put Chamberlain in the middle of the park, that would also at least give Ramsey, also gives Ramsey a proper run in the team. But for me, the most important thing from that game is Arsene Wenger needs to learn how to play one holding defensive midfield. The whole issue of playing, let's say, Coquelin with Xhaka or El Neni, it doesn't add up. Arsenal just need one DM and need the other two midfielders joining the box. That's why you were seeing Bayern was struggling against Arsenal, because Chamberlain was always popping up into dangerous areas. Ramsey has more energy, you all know that. So it was very hard for Bayern to track the runners, and that's why they were pegged back. Now, picture a scenario where he's going to play for you, Coquelin and Xhaka. Those are two people who are used to just sitting in front of the defense. So that takes a lot out of the attack of the team. He needs to understand that probably he wants to play two of them, but it's better for him to play one of them. I know he has close to 4 players in that particular position, but I don't think any two of them should be on the pitch. It only has to be one of them.
Right. Let's move on to another game which was much more competitive. On the aggregate score, but not on the score on the night. That's Barcelona against PSG. I don't know what you guys made of this match. Very, very exciting. It's the greatest comeback in Champions League. I believe even European football. No team has come from a 4-goal deficit.
They have.
There was one 4-goal deficit.
In European football they have, but not in the Champions League.
Right.
It's been done in the UEFA Cup.
Right. So anyway, I was seeing some posts here and there of some people claiming that, the dodgy referee decisions with a few penalties here and there. Barcelona were lucky, but you can't argue against a team that scores 6 goals and goes through after being 4-0 down in the first leg. How good were Barcelona vis-a-vis how poor were PSG, considering how well they played in the first leg? MJ, let me start with you.
Daudi, I would like to start by disagreeing with the assumption in your question. You thought this was a good game. It was not. This was actually...
It was exciting, MJ.
No, it wasn't.
No, I agree with MJ.
This was a good game because I'll give you an example. If you watch the first half, when Suarez scores, then the rest of the game is... The rest of the first half, pardon my language, is piss poor until Iniesta scores. Then you go in the second half. Messi scores, Cavani scores, and then for 20 minutes, nothing happens in the game until Neymar decides to win the game. This was not a good game. People are being deceived by the last 5 minutes. But if I was to ask you, if you had to block out the last 5 minutes from that game and ask yourself, what do you think of the first 85? What do you think? Now compare that to Man City Monaco.
Yes,
Man City Monaco, the 85-minute game, even if the result was still in question, had been a great game. It didn't need the last 5 minutes to make it a special game. This one did. This was actually a poor game. And that brings me to my second thing. I thought, watching this Barcelona team, there's no way they're going to get to the semi-finals playing that way. Barcelona did not beat PSG. One man, Neymar, beat PSG. Because, let's look at it. Look at the Barcelona goals. Normally, if Barcelona scores 6 goals, you'd expect at least 2 to be the flowing team moves we know Barcelona score. None of them were. The first was a keeper error, Suarez scores. The second was an own goal. The third is a penalty, Neymar falls over a defender. The fourth is a superb free kick. The fifth is a penalty, Suarez falling in the box. The sixth is a goal scored from a failed set piece. These are not goals Barcelona scores. That's enough to tell you Barcelona did not play the way they do. Then the thing they should tell you is that, where was Messi? Did you see Messi this game? I didn't. Where was Suarez after his goal? Nowhere. If Messi and Suarez are not in a game, that's another sign. Barcelona are not playing well. Iniesta was subbed. Normally, if Barcelona are playing well, Iniesta will be on it the entire game. Only one guy played well that game, and even he played in fits and pieces. The difference is that his 5 minutes is better than most people's 90, and that was Neymar. Neymar was playing so well that the whole team looked to him to score that fifth goal, the penalty. Not Messi, not Suarez, Neymar. He was the only player on the field who they could see was on it that game. And it's a tribute to Neymar that after this game, people are thinking Barcelona are a great team. They're not. Barcelona were poor this game. PSG were even poorer, don't get me wrong. I think they froze on the occasion. It happens sometimes, even the best of teams. Before people start saying it shows the lack of pedigree, I remember 13 years ago, the previous greatest comeback, when Deportivo beat Milan 4-0. I remember watching that game and I thought there's no way Deportivo can win this game, but they pushed Milan. Milan, a team that had Maldini, a team that had Nesta, Kaká, Pirlo, Gattuso, Seedorf. These are names that roll off the tongue. Shevchenko, these are legends in the game. They froze them that night because they could not. In their case, Deportivo actually overwhelmed them. In PSG's case, it was just the occasion got to them, I think. In the same way, Bayern were caught in two minds because that's such a huge lead. PSG were also caught in two minds. The difference is that Bayern were facing Walcott, Sanchez, and Giroud. These guys were facing Neymar. But even with their bad performance, they came within 5 minutes. In fact, they came within 1 minute of going through. That should tell you something. If PSG plays so badly, but it requires a performance from Neymar that he himself calls his best ever, that should tell you how Barcelona played that game. So I'm going to. Secondly, I think this is the game where Neymar showed himself to be a worthy heir to Messi. Because in a game where Barcelona needed a win, like they haven't in a long time, it was not Messi who delivered them. Messi was silent in this game, except for his penalty. It was Neymar. So for a 25-year-old who's 5 years younger than two greats in Suarez and Messi, both in their prime, for the whole team to look to him to deliver them, I think shows us everything you know about Neymar. I think this is the game he announced that he can be a great, and he has it in him to be a great, and perhaps he will be a great. Cavani, though, and I'll close on this. I've had several encounters with Cavani as a fan of Chelsea, and I have to say, every time I watch him, I don't know what's missing. The guy has the tools. He's quick, he's strong, he's got a powerful shot in him, but for some reason, he doesn't have the efficiency that you expect associated with great strikers. The first time I saw Cavani was the 2012 Champions League second round tie, Chelsea-Napoli. He got 2 1-on-1s with Czech. He missed both. Napoli went on to lose the game 4-1 and go out. Had he scored even one of them, Chelsea were out. The second time was PSG-Chelsea 2014. Same thing. PSG come to Chelsea with a lead. They'd won 3-1 the first leg. Chelsea are chasing the game. They're leading 1-0. Cavani gets 2 golden age chances. He misses both. Chelsea score with a late winner and they go through. Now this is the third time. Same context. His team comes to the second leg with the lead. They look to him to score one of their few chances, and yet again he misses. For a player who's as good as, for a player with this goal record, there's something missing. You look at the 3 chances he got. Those were better chances than anything Neymar got. But if Neymar had been playing for PSG would have gone through comfortably, because he certainly would have converted that either the first or the third chance Cavani got. The one that hit the bar and the one where he put it straight into the goalkeeper. So that's my view, that I think Neymar won this game. It was not a great game. In fact, this game suggests that Barcelona have huge problems. Because in a game like this where you'd expect to be psyched, they put in my opinion, a worse performance than Arsenal did in the first half. At no point did they play as well as Arsenal did in the first half against Bayern. but they had Neymar. And sometimes in life, especially in football, one man can make a difference, and that was the case yesterday.
Okay. But what are your thoughts on that game?
I agree with MJ. Most people are saying it was probably the best game of the season. But for me, I think that Man City Monaco game was, I think, by far the best game I've watched probably, I think, throughout this football calendar year. But as far as drama is concerned, I mean, hands down, that game was dramatic, the way it ended. And credit to Barcelona, but I'll first talk about PSG, because as much as PSG they had that 4-0 lead from the first leg, you do feel like probably they thought they would just go and defend against Bayern. Because one, I've not seen PSG defend that deep, but somehow we were defending that deep, inviting Barcelona to them. And then the worst mistake of them defending that deep is we're actually trying to play the ball out from the back. Now, when trying to play the ball out from the back, they're inviting pressure to themselves. And that's why you saw somehow from the 88th minute, they went downhill. I was seeing some crazy statistic of how they only managed to complete, I think, 4 passes, and 3 of them were when they were restarting after they had conceded. So it shows you how somehow the wheels just went off the wagon. But Emre, the PSG coach, for me, I felt he should have done better, because you're trying to break down Barcelona using short passes, you're deep. 7 out of 10 times you're going to lose the ball against Barcelona, and then you will concede, or at least you invite pressure onto yourselves. Why not go long? Because we know Barcelona is a team that they like the press. I mean, they live for the press. This is something that they are taught right down from their academies. It's something they do naturally. So if you're inviting them, you're literally playing into their hands. That was the one downside for me. The other issue MJ mentioned, that was of course Cavani and Di Maria also had that good chance, the 1-on-1, which you feel if they had scored, then probably that tie would have been done and buried. But credit to Barcelona, they didn't play well. We all know the issues with the team, but the advantage of them winning 6-1 is this result will have a ripple effect on whichever side they get or on the form they have. So you now worry if you're drawn against Barcelona, what squad do you need to beat them if you're going to host the first leg at home? Because not even 5-0 will guarantee you going through, because you know at the Nou Camp they can't do anything. So probably it's going to send a fear factor down the rest of the teams. Allegri, the Juventus coach, actually just came out and said that probably the rest of the teams are now worried for Barcelona. And I feel this actually makes them the favourites, MJ. Not because of the way they are playing, but because of the effect that it's going to have on the opposition that are going to come to the Nou Camp now, how the opposition will play when they host the first leg. So as far as the result is concerned, it's great for them. I mean, the passion that was there, the fans were crying in the stadium. So as far as the drama is concerned, it was a beautiful spectacle to watch. But without a shadow of doubt, Barcelona team, they did need to change a number of issues that team has. We do know they need a right back. They have never quite replaced Dani Alves. Iniesta is becoming old. Sergio Busquets is struggling for form. Piqué, I feel, probably needs a new challenge. I feel like he has done it all at Barcelona. So he picks which games he's going to show up. So there are particular games where he will struggle. Mascherano also looks like he's moving on. So Barcelona look like a team in transition. So as far as that result is concerned, it's not the best for them, but I feel it's something they can build on as far as the Champions League is concerned, and also the domestic league for them. But PSG, it's very sad what happened. Cavani, MJ is asking what's wrong with Cavani, but Cavani, I think his problem, without sounding offensive, probably is he looks like someone who's not good at thinking. Because whenever he has a chance, whenever he gets a chance, when he has time and he has to compose himself, somehow he loses his head.
Actually,
but when you're giving him this instant action, like the goal he scored yesterday, I mean, he would take that with ease. Yeah, but see, that was he had a chance, and there are 2 chances he had before that. So probably, I feel his mindset is the issue. So you are saying?
I was thinking that I think he might have hit the nail on the head, because when I think of his goals down the years that I remember, they were all goals where he acted instantly, and the misses were all goals where he had time on the ball, such as that last chance he had where he shot the ball right up against to Sturgeon. When he's moving in and he has time on the ball to think, he's actually a much worse finisher. So, which creates a problem. Which creates
natural instinct is stop up there.
But which creates a problem because normally when you play on the counter-attack, you're going to get chances where it's just you, and you have time to think, and the goalkeeper is in front of you. So it means that he will actually struggle in away games like this for his teams.
He always struggles. I mean, he has missed a number of big chances. I think even the game against Arsenal, the number of chances missed, then somehow he scored. It's a much harder chance. But for me, that's the downside for Cavani. But Di Maria also probably should have buried that chance he got. So PSG had their chances. And I feel they were hard done by the whole time. The tactics won.
Yeah.
But for me, our issue is, I mean, Thiago Silva, they need leadership on that pitch. From that 88 minutes, from the time Neymar was carving that free kick, they need someone to stand up and tell guys, you know what? Let's keep our heads focused here. We can still do this. We have the advantage. We just need to do these things somewhat systematically. But you felt from the time they conceded the free kick, I mean, it just looked like their head had been cut off. And someone like Thiago Silva is now turning 32. Before he joined PSG, probably as one of the best centre-backs in world football. And there's all this talk of how he's going to be a next great thing. But from PSG, it has been downhill for him. There's a whole loss, the World Cup, we all remember the thrashing they got at the hands of Germany. So, and I remember Dunga literally dropped him for that. He said his head is not right. He has all the attributes, but somehow he gets too emotional and gets drawn into the tide. Because at times in football games, at least for football I've played.
But let me ask you this. You mentioned that you think it would be to Barcelona's, you think it would be Barcelona's advantage. Now, I want to ask you, when you've won a game the way Barcelona have, is your initial thinking that we're a bad team, or is your initial thinking that we must be a great team to pull off such a comeback?
I mean, everyone is talking about Barcelona.
Exactly. So now, when you leave a game like that thinking you're so good, are you going to make the changes you need?
No, but Barcelona definitely got to make these changes because why?
Because like you just
they
told
need
me,
a new coach.
No. I'm saying for this Champions League campaign, why would they make the changes? Because as far as they're concerned, they must be the greatest team on earth because they just put up a 6-1 win, and that's my point. Which is the nature of the victory has allowed them to mask their deficiencies. So
Barcelona's bench at the moment is very thin. I mean,
no. But all I'm saying,
when Iniesta comes over, Iniesta has been.
No, because what I'm saying is that you had said that this win would put fear into other teams. And what I'm saying is that actually this win may actually go against them because they will think they're better than they actually are. So when they come up against a team like Madrid or Bayern that doesn't have PSG stage fright, they're going to get thrashed playing that way. And they'll get thrashed both legs. The way they were 4 years ago when Bayern put them past them.
I don't think Barcelona will win it. I do feel, but between Barcelona, there's still a number of very good teams in the Champions League at the moment. You've mentioned Bayern. There's Real Madrid, of course. These are teams that are used to playing at the Nou Camp. But you imagine they get a much lesser team. Let's say probably if Leicester beats Sevilla or Leicester beats Sevilla or Dortmund have also been there. So I'm not saying that completely it's going to scare them, but you do feel that if you're leading 4-0 against Bayern and the second leg is at the Nou Camp, you won't think that game is done and dusted. You still give Barcelona a chance, and also Barcelona players will know that there's no squad they can't overturn at the Nou Camp.
No, but that's exactly my point. They have a false confidence because it's not them who overturned the deaths to Neymar. Is Neymar going to play like that again? No. You get yes. So it was a lightning bolt that got them out of jail, but they will think it's because of their team ability, which is not the case. So they're going to attribute their victory to the wrong thing.
There are other games in the Champions League, of course. Napoli losing to Real Madrid 3-1. So Madrid go through 6-2 on aggregate. Dortmund, who missed a lot of opportunities. We're talking about Cavani, and in that game I believe Aubameyang was guilty of so many chances. Well, the return leg he actually performed, and they went through 4-1 on aggregate. They won 4-0 at Dortmund's stadium. So
we have to also recognize the performance of the young American.
Oh yes, brilliant. What was his name?
Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not many 18-year-olds perform for their team at that level. So.
Well, let's quickly move on to England. We spent quite a while on Champions League football, and there's the Premiership this weekend as well as the FA Cup. The Premier League games, for any of the people listening that play fantasy football, there are 8 teams involved in the Premier League this weekend. Everton host West Brom. Hull take on Swansea. That's a big game. MJ, you and I were debating whether Hull City would survive relegation. And this game, I think, is a quite significant one, because if Hull can beat Swansea, then they've got a chance. However, if they do lose, then I think it's going to be very difficult for them to actually pull through. Bournemouth host West Ham, and then Liverpool play Burnley. Is Burnley one of the bottom 6 clubs?
Nope.
Well, then they might win that game.
But actually, the problem is that they're in the bottom half.
Oh.
Yes, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that may not go Liverpool's way.
Bet wisely then.
Exactly.
Bet wisely. Well, the JC games, of course, are in the FA Cup. The big one being Chelsea against Manchester United. Chelsea at home. MJ, I don't know how... Considering that Chelsea are the favourites for the Premiership, would you like them to win the FA Cup as well? Or because you hate Conte, you'd rather he gets out of this and gets fired sooner rather than later?
I don't hate Conte. I just think he's a bad fit for Chelsea, and events will prove me right. But credit to him. He's wrapped up the title early. I'd like to see Chelsea win the FA Cup as a fan. But the FA Cup is 90 minutes, and a lot can happen in 90 minutes. Who knows? Maybe Martial will refine his form from last season and knock us out. Anything's possible.
I do wonder, but I want to pose this question to you. I do wonder, maybe it's just me. Lately, I do feel like the FA Cup has lost its shine a bit. It's not a competition that people are generally excited about. I mean, when the trophy comes, yes, it comes. But when you get knocked out, it's not the end of the world. I do wonder whether that's because the other competitions are much more treasured now. I don't know what's going on. Buddy, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I wouldn't agree more with you. Probably FA Cup. At the beginning of the season, it's one of the 4 trophies that you can win. You either win the Champions League if you're a big team, or you win the league, or you win the FA Cup, or you can win the League Cup. So at the beginning of the season, probably I don't think most managers put it on top of their wish list. But at the end of the season, you do see teams actually fighting for it, because I mean, finishing trophyless and having the FA Cup, you give me a FA Cup any day. So the teams will go out for it, but not on the same scale that they used to. So probably the FA Cup needs a big final. Somehow the draws, the quarterfinals and the semi-finals draws have been having bigger ties than the final. So you have probably, with all due respect to the other teams, but you'll have Southampton playing, probably United. You'll have Arsenal playing Hull City. So that's not a big game as far as England is concerned. They're much bigger teams. MJ was talking about Chelsea and Conte. MJ now is hitting his words. I think Chelsea have won the league.
No.
That results yesterday.
No, his credit to him. Chelsea's won the
Sorry?
league. I have no shame about admitting I was wrong. I was wrong. I still think that we'll see shortly, perhaps in the second season, the reason for my reservations about Conte. Any manager who leaves a club because they're not willing to buy the players he wants is one who won't last long at Chelsea, where he doesn't make the transfer decisions. And that's why he left Juve. So you will see in the second season as the friction comes. But here's a fun fact. Here's a fun question for you, buddy. Who was the last manager to win the league and not get fired? I asked Dowdy this before we went on air.
MJ.
No, who was,
I was just going to hint at it that it's going to win the league this year and get fired next season.
Exactly.
But credit to him, what he has done at Chelsea.
I know, but ask the question:
Chelsea.
who was the last manager given the title and not get fired?
Get fired or retire? Because Ferguson, Ferguson left on his own.
Exactly, that's 2013. But that tells you something. It's now 5 years, 5 seasons. This is the 5th season since Ferguson went, and that's how things have tended to go. Actually, the 4th season since he left. That's how things have tended to go.
But
Mancini bit
but
the
MJ,
dust.
you have to give Conte some credit.
No.
Chelsea are playing some really good football, and somehow he has made this whole thing work without John Terry.
We also played good football under Ancelotti, and he still got his fired. We played some good football under Mourinho the second time round. He still got fired. You mustn't let yourself be deceived by the trophy. But credit him for this season.
Right, another team that I just wanted us to touch on quickly is Leicester. Of course, Leicester got rid of Ranieri. You're speaking about managers who've won the league and then gotten fired. And all of a sudden, they're performing very well. In fact, now they're back to their best. I don't know what's happening there, because when I was watching the Planetary on Sky and all those other channels, all the guys were very, very disappointed and angry at Leicester for firing Ranieri after what he had done for the club. But when you look at the results, the results are positive. So were Leicester right to fire the manager? Is this something, this firing thing, as long as it gets positive results, is it okay? Because loyalty seems to have a downside, as Arsenal can tell you.
Well, the simple complaining about Ranieri being fired, well, the simple complaint when Nigel Pearson was fired. They were proven wrong then. I was disappointed to see Ranieri go. I thought he could have turned it around, but this is football. Our own SC Villa proved to us day after day that the past has no value in football. Here's a fun question for you and Buddy. Who is the longest serving manager in the league after Wenger at his current club?
The mere fact that we're really scratching our brains to get the answer, that says
I'll give you an example. Eddie Howe is number 4.
Wow.
No, number 5, sorry. Pulis is number 4. Notice how all the clubs are mentioning, with the exception of Spurs, are teams that are not at the top. The intensity is hardest at the top. Number 2 is Mark Hughes at Stoke. He's been in charge for 4 years. So that should tell you something. With the exception of Pochettino, Spurs, and he's been in charge 2 years. We're looking at managers who are clustered in the mid-table region. All the clubs at the top have changed their managers. It's the intensity at the top, and all the clubs at the bottom. Every club in the bottom 7 has fired their manager, with the exception of Middlesbrough. So the top and the bottom, the pressure is very intense in the league. And so Ranieri being fired is consistent with the league. It's nothing special. The Leicester manager's action is consistent with honours in the game.
The issue with Leicester, unsurprisingly, somehow I said watching the games more from the time Ranieri was fired. But from the time Leicester won the league last season, everyone knew how Leicester play. The team that are going to go Drinkwater is going to play ball over the top, and Jamie Vardy is going to run onto it. They use a lot of wing play, the new Mahrez. But somehow going into this season, everyone knew what to expect from Leicester City. Their type of play, and something I needed to adapt the team to change that. So somehow kept on trying all these new kinds of permutations in order to make everything work, which did, at the end of the day, it didn't work, because there's nothing special that what's his name, Shakespeare has to go back to the same old basic to place the ball long, and Buddy somehow has found his scoring boost. But you can see around the team is working hard. So somehow all these small things have said working out after Ranieri has left. And you're right. I mean, the end just fails the means. Now they are winning games and they look like definitely are going to be relegated. But probably you do feel like Ranieri would have turned it around also as well.
I think so.
So probably it was a bit premature.
I think so, but football is football.
For them to have fired him when they did. But anyway, as you say, the end just fails the means. Leicester, I think, will be in the Premiership next season. But it's interesting how I mentioned what kind of fairy tale it would be for Leicester to win the league one season and get relegated the next season. But at some point it looked like it would happen. But credit to them. I mean, now they look like they have that hand, and teams now at least know that these are the defending champions. Something that crossed my mind: if Barcelona are through and Real Madrid are through, so probably Atletico Madrid and Sevilla look like they will be joining them. So Spain may have 40.
Well, Sevilla may suffer a serious upset. Leicester are playing with a new manager and new hope. Leicester need one goal.
Then you're looking
gone? Yeah, we could have 4 teams.
Looking at the scenario, Spain could have 4 teams.
Yes, and England could have none.
So does that answer your question as far as
the quality of the league? Yes. No, not just the quality of the English league. Thank you for raising this, Buddy. I just had to return again to the point of how low quality this league is. Perhaps because I'm getting older in years, but looking back, I actually thought to myself, how many seasons? I became a football fan in 2000, so it's been 17 years now. And I asked myself, how many Premiership seasons have I seen since then? 17. How many of them could I honestly say are truly memorable? And I thought, well, 2002-2003 United Arsenal, which went down to the last year, was good. 2011-2012 was good, but only because of the last 3 minutes. And 2013-2014 was good. 2013-2014 was good because of the unpredictability. But other than those 3 seasons, I cannot remember.
Leicester season, last season.
No. Leicester was good. The season itself was terrible. Because if you think about it, from January 1, the leader of the table did not change. I mean, how much more duller can the title race be than that?
But the mere fact that it was an underdog.
No. I'm saying Leicester winning was good, but that doesn't redeem the season. So when I think of seasons, the best one I've still seen is 2013, 2014. And let me put my cards on the table. I judge a league by the competitiveness and the quality of football. Sometimes those two are in opposition to each other. But in 2013, 2014, they coincided because the quality we saw from Liverpool when they're thrashing Arsenal, from City, from Chelsea at times, from Arsenal was very high. And there was no point that season when you could actually tell who was going to win the title. Arsenal led, then Chelsea, then Liverpool, then City, who'd been at the shoulder throughout, came through the last to win it. That was, for me, what you'd like to see in every Premier League season. But that's the only one I can remember. Normally, it's a two-person race. And so it made me realize that this league is actually quite a disappointment most of the time. But especially so recently, because Buddy just mentioned the Champions League performances. The Champions League is where we get to evaluate the leagues against each other, as Buddy did. Now, if you look at the fact that likely it's going to be 4 Spanish teams, and maybe if City can defend their lead, although I have my doubts, I think they're going to swallow a bucket load. 1 English team. This is what we call the best league in the world. But it's been a long period of decline. It's now 2017. In the 8 years...
Yeah, probably.
I was going to say that, in the 5 years between 2004 and 2009, the Premier League had a team in the final every season. There were 3 seasons in a row in that period when there were 3 Premiership teams in the semi-finals. Now, the league was very uncompetitive in that period because the same teams were finishing the top 4, but the quality of the top 4 was very high compared to the league. But what we now have is a league that is not competitive like it was back then, but the quality is also low. So I ask myself, where's the redeeming feature here? At least 6 years ago, we had a league that was uncompetitive but had high quality. And then there was a period where we had low quality but some competitiveness, like in 2013, 2014. But now we have neither. Chelsea, everybody's known Chelsea going this title from November, and yet in the Champions League there's nothing. So we're looking at pygmies that can't even fight each other, and so it's I don't know where we go from here because it's not as though the players in the league are particularly bad. I mean, they're rejects from La Liga. It's true, but they're not particularly bad. And we're supposed to have the quote unquote World Championship of Managers, but. Yeah, I'll be honest. This league is lacking.
I'll just give you a quick one. I think last week probably Gareth Bale, he did an interview with the Daily Mail. One of the questions that came up was they were asking him why English teams are struggling of late. And of course, he said one reason probably most of us have known and a number of managers have mentioned is in England they don't get a winter break. So you have players playing throughout the season while the other leagues will give their players a winter break so they'll get refreshed. And that is the reason probably we have known. But for me, the most important thing he said in that interview probably was, he said that in Spain, you can afford to have, there are games where you don't have to give 100% and you still win the games. So you only have to go and play for the first 20 minutes to get a 3-0 lead and then you just drop down the intensity of the game and everything like that. And that's it. Well, in the Premiership, he said you can never afford to do that. Every game, you have to give 100% because the moment you give our team even the slightest chance, then probably you find yourself playing a game or losing. And this is something also Guardiola has said, how he has learned, something he has learned about the Premiership, is every game is about 100%. So probably that was his reasoning at least. And I do feel that some of those points do hold water. So for me,
don't get me wrong.
First to use the Champions League as a yardstick probably is a little bit unfair to Premiership teams.
I used to think the same thing, Buddy. And I used to think that the energy and the like. Then I thought to myself, but that was the case when the Premiership was dominant. It didn't hamstring Chelsea United making 3 semi-finals in a row. It didn't stop Arsenal making a final.
See, MJ,
but let me finish. No, let me finish. He didn't stop that. Then I also thought to myself, well, people say that La Liga, you coast along. That implies that the teams in the league of lower quality, the bottom teams, so to speak, are of lower quality in the bottom teams in the Premiership. So I looked at the Europa League, which is a test of the mid-table. When was the last time you saw an English team do well there? Save Chelsea, who finished third. If you look back, English teams, generally speaking, perform very poorly. I remember when United went that competition and they placed Atletico Bilbao and they got schooled. But Atletico Bilbao finished in mid-table that season in Spain. Sevilla's won the last 3 European leagues in a row. Before them, there's Atletico. So the mid-table in Spain is actually quite strong. So it's true Barcelona.
MJ, but then,
I was going to say, it's true Barcelona Madrid on a different level, but they're also playing a mid-table in their league, which is of higher quality than the mid-table in the Premiership. So it's a testament to how good Barcelona Madrid are that they can coast in those games, but it doesn't reflect on the quality of the league. I think Spain has stronger teams than the English leagues do. And the best example is if you take the 10th team in the Premiership and play against the 10th team in Spain, I think we all know which way that game would go. It'd be a no contest.
MJ, we'll finish this some other time. I was about to start telling you how those days were only two dominant teams in England, so Arsenal would go on.
I know, but like you said,
and just
we should focus on you guys.
But I say it's an argument for
Are you going to be at the Viper Stadium on Saturday?
Yeah, I think probably I should make it.
I'll be there as well.
No, I don't think I'll make it there. I just remember I have something else to be, but I'll follow the game closely. I'll just start with the league at the moment. KCCA, of course, are top of that league.
Of course, they're going to
win our league standings at the moment. I do think they're champions elect mainly because of their home form and the fact that most teams probably take close to the entire first half adjusting to that ground. It's artificial tough. So most teams struggle.
Oduparaka also has a great home record, but they're not winning the league. I think you're underselling KCCA. Yes. You've watched KCCA play, and I have as well. I think that they play football that is, generally speaking, qualitatively superior to most teams in the league. It's not just an issue of their home ground. I know you're not a fan of Mike Mutebi, and I would agree he does border on the lunatic. But there's no doubting that he has them playing a better quality of football than, say, SC Villa.
True, that's very true. But then I mean, look at the money they invested in their squad. It's only fair.
I know you always come back to money,
and I think they will win the league for a while, considering the amount of money that they're investing. So, for me, KCCA will win this. Whatever reasons they'll win it, I don't care.
The other day, I had a thought here. Given that KCCA has been working towards this league title since before the AFCON break, what about having a playoff system? Which would ensure that you don't know who's going to win the title to the last day. So you maybe take out the top 8, they play quarterfinals and semifinals, then a final.
Probably interesting. Some people can look at, because I feel KCCA are going to win this one. But the reason MD that they're going to win this, you do feel that the rest of the teams have been very, very consistent. SC Villa, you mentioned, are firing coaches for fun. I told you their president has
no, you're right. No, I agree.
Another time you are saying,
no, it's clearly short a deck of. He doesn't have all the cards in matter too. Aligned, yeah.
So Villa at the moment they're in second spot with they're on 38 points. But they have played 2 extra games, and KCCA Vipers are third, 32 points. Then at the bottom it looks sadly like the 3 ginger teams probably are going to be relegated. That's KNSS, who are third from bottom, then Bull FC and GMC Peoples, who I'm sure, at least GMC Peoples I'm sure will be in the big league next season. Then just still with Villa, of course we all know that Nakivubo has been cordoned off.
It has been cordoned off. It's been repossessed and it's under reconstruction. I was under the impression that the owners were the trustees of the Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, at least as far as I know, they didn't have that land title.
Really?
And probably
I must have missed
the other big thing out of this is what worries me. What worries me is we all know what has been happening in this country. I mean, 1 minute we are going to slam iron sheets around the football pitch, and then 6 months down the road there's an shopping arcade, which beats my understanding.
But anyway, let's put that aside. Let's look at this in an objective manner. Do you think? Let me ask you in an objective manner. Do you think a stadium should be in that place? Putting aside our emotional attachment to Nakivubo, should a stadium be there?
For how long has the stadium been there?
I asked you, should it be there? I said, put aside emotional attachment, the historical. Should it be there? You know,
should the market be next to a stadium? Because MJ, I believe the market took up the parking for the stadium. The people who built the stadium there originally had planned for all that space you see around it to be part of a parking lot, which much later became a market.
Yes.
So if you ask me, should the stadium be there in the original plan and with everything that was concerned going to building a stadium there, there's nothing wrong with the stadium being there.
I don't.
But see, just because events have overtaken the stadium, and now you have arcades all over around it. I think there were arcades there at the time they were building that stadium. So probably the big question should be, why are they allowing arcades to be built around the entire stadium? Why are you giving out the parking lot?
But the arcades are there. But the arcades are there now. The arcades are there now, and given the fact that this is close to the heart of the economic heart of Uganda, I think it's sensible to think that a stadium is not the best use of that land. It'd be much better for the stadium to be relocated. An arcade go up there. If a stadium is a place where there's no community, then the stadium is the wrong place. It needs to be moved.
Well, wait and see. MJ, then lastly on the local scene, of course, we have our representatives on the continent. KCCA will be taking on Mamelodi Sundowners. Am I correct?
Yeah, Mamelodi Sundowns. That's right. They call them the Brazilians of Africa.
Brazilians. Somehow I had the chance of watching them train probably, I think, close to 3 years ago. At that time, they were not as big as they are now. But you would see that they were a team that were destined for something big.
Well,
of course, KCCA are playing the first leg.
Oh, but given how much you hate money, you should know that Mamelodi Sundowns is owned by the richest man in South Africa. He's a mining billionaire. So KCCA is going to meet somebody that has more money than them. We'll see whether they do well.
Let's wait and see. But that game is today in Pretoria. Then the second leg, KCCA are insisting on hosting it at Lugogo. But I do feel they should move it because the crowds will be. It's going to be hard for them to manage the crowds that are going to flock that game.
And that's
so KCCA probably.
And also that's not a real stadium.
I do feel
it's a training ground.
I do feel it's a training ground. Yeah, that's right. I think it's a stadium. But KCCA can get something from this. I know I've never fancied the South African teams. I don't know why. I think they have all the money and all. But I do feel probably quality of football, with the money that has been invested, they should be doing much better. So KCCA should fancy a chance. And of course, before today's game, they played the friendly. Surprisingly, they said the friendly was made up of Uganda as well in South Africa. I don't know how competitive that was. And it's a game they won 4-1. But I don't know if it's the most ideal preparation, but probably time will tell. So let's wait and see. Then Vipers will also be in action on Saturday at 4:30.
It's on Saturday at 4:30.
Of course, they are launching their new stadium.
Of course, I'll be there. I'll send you the photos.
Yeah, they're launching a new stadium. Please do. So I think that's it from the local scene, which KCCA and Vipers will the best.
Right, well, this has been a long show. Thank you so much, MJ, and Buddy as well for joining us today. And have a pleasant weekend. Catch you again next week.